Hello, Captains. This is the Doctor. This is a special video about the Terran Reputation that they added in Season 11, New Dawn. Now, I have finally reached Tier 5 in my Terran Reputation. That means it's totally unlocked. All tiers are active. I can finally look at all the hardware and gear that's available for Space and Ground, and I can finally purchase all of it. So here's the deal. When you unlock each tier of the Terran Reputation, let me bring that up real quick. I am talking, of course, about the Terran Task Force. When you bring that up, you have these tiers, Tier 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. When you unlock each tier, you get this message from another universe that pops up in your mission window. And it says to come here to DS9 and talk to Sarish, this woman over here we're going to talk to read this content. This is basically, what I gather, is that this is going to be information about the mirror universe. Maybe how the mirror universe Leeta came to power and took over the mirror universe, basically, and for the reason why they want to invade our universe. Basically, the whole background story for why the mirror universe is a part of Season 11, New Dawn. So that's what I'm going to do today. I have not watched any of these recordings, and it says they're recordings. I don't know if that's video or audio. I have not looked at any of these yet. This one says watch log on Ops computer. This says watch previous recording, watch previous recording. So anyway, there's 5 of them, and each one unlocked and told me to come here. I've saved them up so that I could come here and do this with you guys and see what this new content is. Now, the Terran Task Force is not the only reputation that has things unlock when a certain tier unlocks. The new Romulus reputation is quite famous for having a storyline throughout all 5 tiers of the reputation. When you unlock the new Romulus reputations, the first one gives you a video to watch, and then from there on, each one actually has a new Romulus mission that you go to the new Romulus homeworld, and you actually have a brand new mission to do and open up with each tier, so it's quite fun. I recommend the new Romulus reputation not only for that mission storyline, which is really cool, but also for all the gear and content that you get, all the drops, all of the rewards for each mission, and the fact that the new Romulus reputation is actually a pretty good one and has some really good stuff in it. So that's another storyline to explore if you haven't. Not all of them have it. The Task Force Omega does not have anything. I don't think the new Kara has anything. Dyson, it does have something. There is a video thing related to it. Each tier unlocks a new video to go watch, but that's about it. It's not a new mission. Counter Command, it does not have one, if I recall correctly. It doesn't have anything associated with the tiers. Delta Alliance also maybe doesn't. Remind me on that, because I forget. Iconian Resistance, I do not think had anything involved with it. But Terran Task Force does. It has these things here. If I'm wrong about any of those, please post in the comments. So that's what we're going to do today. In this one video here today, we're just going to read over this message from another universe in order, all 5 of them. In the next video, we're going to go over the entire Terran Task Force and see what passive abilities it has available and what gear you can get unlocked at each tier. So we will totally go through the reputation, but that's in the next video. This one is all about message from another universe. Oops. So here we are at Ops DS9, and here is Commander Sarashmina, and I guess we click the Terran Task Force check Ops records. Transmission 1. Let's do this.
Personal log, Admiral Lita. So little time. When I was merely a captain serving on occupied Bajor, I had no choice but to rely on seduction and misdirection. All my years working for the Terran Rebellion, and my Bajoran roots were still thrown in my face. Captain Lita, nothing more than a figurehead to placate the Bajorans. resented by my crew and dismissed by the Admiralty. Then, the Orb of Possibilities was returned, and it showed me the way. Now, all possibilities are ahead of me. The orb showed me the Coast Emotion. Maybe the prophets were trying to warn me. The Coast Emotion showed me a hint of power. The Pa Wraiths burned away weakness, burned away age, burned away mortality. The future would be mine if I could just grasp it. Admiral, Fleet Admiral, perhaps more. Now, travelers have come from the future, back in time to give us weapons to destroy the Iconians. Travelers who already know my plans and my fate. I don't trust them. But can I use them?
Oh my gosh, this gives us a ton of background information. I didn't think we would get this much info, but this is great. So now we learn how and why Leeta gained her power in the Mirror Universe. So she was just a lowly captain on Bajor, which was occupied. I guess it was occupied by the Cardassians, or no, the whatever the evil people were. Anyway, she was part of the Terran Rebellion, so the humans. And then she found the Orb of Possibilities, and it says it was returned. Now that was us, wasn't it? Aren't we the ones who returned the Orb of Possibilities to Bajor? So basically we are the cause for what she became because she found it. Wow, that's kind of an interesting connection. And she found the Coast Emotion, which we know as the Pa Wraiths. Now, they were a part of the DS9 series. In fact, the Pa Wraiths fought the prophets. I think they used Kira. I forget if she was a Pa Wraith or a prophet. They inhabited the bodies. I think it was Kai Wen who was the Pa Wraith, and then Kira the prophet. Anyway, they inhabited their bodies and had this showdown on DS9, if I remember correctly. It's been a long time since I've seen that. Anyway, the Pa Wraiths are basically the evil prophets. Just think of it that way. They're like, the prophets are good, and the Pa Wraiths are the evil version of them. Now, in the Mirror Universe, we know this. The prophets have not shown themselves to the Bajorans, whereas in our universe, the prophets live in the wormhole. They're wormhole aliens, we call them. They live in the wormhole. They are the prophets to the Bajorans. They are just an alien species who kind of live between dimensions. However, in the Mirror Universe, the prophets have not made themselves known to the Bajorans. They are not in the wormhole, or if they are, they're not seen or whatever. So that's totally different there. However, it does seem like the Pa Wraiths made themselves aware by inhabiting or helping Admiral Lita here. Now, we also get some information about how they defeated the Iconians, which of course we kind of already knew this, but people from the future came into the past to give them weapons. Now, it says here, travelers have come from the future. I do wonder who those travelers are. Who are the future people from the Mirror Universe that came into the past in their universe to give them this hardware? That is a big question I have. Maybe one day that'll get answered. And why did they do it? But they traveled back in time, gave them future weaponry, and it's because of the future weaponry that they defeated their Iconians. They didn't use time travel in the sense of going back and getting the World Heart and all that. No, they just flat out defeated them with brute power and force. So, wow. Okay, so that's the first one. That gives us a lot of information. Now it's time for Transmission 2. Message from Another Universe 2. Read log. So here's Transmission 2.
Personal log, Admiral Lita. Our temporal visitors have given us quite a few gifts. At first, my engineers were pessimistic about understanding future technology. A few trips to the Agony booth have cured them of their misgivings. Our benefactors have come from our far future to ensure that their world comes to pass. For that to happen, we must defeat the Iconians, and our descendants have given us the weapons to do so. Of course, as Admiral in command of the fleet's flagship, I must insist on the first set of upgrades. Once the Enterprise has the power to dominate the fleet, I can give new weapons to my subordinates, but only to those who prove their loyalty.
Okay, very interesting. So we know that the visitors are from their far future, and they have given them this technology to ensure that their future takes place. This sounds a lot like the temporal Cold War that we face in our universe, because there's a lot of factions trying to guide the future in the way that favors them, and they can do that in the past. So we're the ones who get caught in the middle. Sounds like the same thing is happening over there. You've got a future faction who wants things to happen their way, so they go into the past and give them the technology so that the future ends up going their way. Of course, morals are kind of thrown out the window in the mirror universe, so they do whatever they want. Meddling in the past, not a problem. Okay, very cool. Let's go on to Transmission 3, which is basically Tier 3 of the Reputation.
Personal log, Admiral Lita. The infighting in the fleet has been fierce. Many captains are rushing to declare their allegiance to me, and just as many are standing firm in their professions of loyalty to the Emperor. Of course, the fools who fight against me don't have access to my futuristic weapons. It will only be a short time now before my command is cemented. After that, I will take this war to the Iconians and eliminate them. Once the Iconians are destroyed, I can turn my attention to other matters. After all, Empress Hoshi gained her station with technology from the future. Or perhaps I can carve out a new empire of my own.
All right, so basically what we knew would happen here, there's probably a lot of fighting between people. The people that are scared of Leeta will, confess their loyalty. The others may want to try to fight against her. But as she learns this new technology and integrates it into her ships, she'll be more menacing. And we also get mention of Empress Hoshi, which we know from the Enterprise series in the Mirror Universe. She did gain her power because they found a 23rd century starship. It was, I believe it was the Defiant, wasn't it? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that ship, it was a Constitution class ship, not the Enterprise, but it was called the Defiant, if I recall correctly. And it ended up in the past, or it ended up in another universe in the past. And of course, they found that ship and ended up taking over it. And at the very end of that, Empress Hoshi kind of took over. Hoshi kind of took over everything, and declared herself Empress. And here she is riding in on this 23rd century starship in the 22nd century, about 100 years more advanced than anything they had at the time. So that really propelled her into power in the same way that Leeta is being propelled into power. Leeta has, of course, the Paw Wraiths on her side too. That's another thing. I wonder, though, my thing about Empress Hoshi and the fact she had a 23rd century Constitution class ship is, wouldn't that have propelled the Mirror Universe to be just a little more advanced than we are? It always seems like they're on par with us in terms of technology development, but that, to me, that one instance, I would have thought would have propelled them to start developing technology even more advanced than us. They would be at a development cycle that's ahead of us, is what I'm trying to say. But it never seemed that way. Maybe they just didn't, backwards engineer it. Maybe Empress Hoshi, used the ship as much as she could until it eventually probably got destroyed, and they just lost the technology and were not able to backwards engineer it. That's my guess as to why they haven't leaped forward it ahead of us in terms of technology. But now I wonder if they will, because now that Leeta has control of future technology, and they did use it successfully to drive back the Iconians, does that mean that the Mirror Universe is now going to be literally leaped ahead of us in terms of technology progress? I wonder. Okay, now it's time for log number 4.
Personal log, Admiral Lita. I get the sense that our time-traveling visitors are not giving us the best of their technology. They won't give us weapons that are advanced enough to be a threat to them. I suppose it doesn't really matter. This technology is more than enough to guarantee that the fleet will remain under my control. We've finished installing temporal shielding. In addition to protecting us against a wider range of weapons, this will insulate us from changes in the timeline. When we go back to wipe out the Iconians, the shields will guarantee that we will remember everything after we return. Naturally, any captain I suspect of disloyalty is going to experience a slight variance in their shield harmonics. Wiped from the timeline. Oops! And nobody will ever remember their treachery.
Alright, I totally take back everything I said about them not time traveling into the past, because apparently that is their plan. Even with all the advanced technology they have, it sounds like their plan is to still travel back in time and take out the Iconians in the past. Which they would be even easier to defeat, I guess. I guess even with future technology, we are talking about, billions and billions of heralds and everything that are out there now. It would take a long time to do. But if they went back into the past when they were even weaker, or at a time when they didn't even, like back in the time like when we traveled back 200,000 years ago, during that time, it would have been really easy to take them out. So maybe that is their plan, even though they're going to have this advanced technology. And of course, the time-traveling visitors aren't giving them their best technology. They're not stupid. They don't want them they don't want her to try to defeat them. So, of course, they're not going to do that. Temporal shielding, so they're going to protect themselves from the timeline. That means Leeta has no problem changing the timeline. Just at her will, she'll change the timeline and not be affected by it. And they even have this technology to erase people from a timeline. Basically, that sounds like Krenim technology to me right there. Erasing an object from history so that they never existed. What a weapon to be able to do that to people. I mean, wow. Okay, here's the last one, guys. This is transmission number 5. Here we go.
Personal log, Admiral Lita. We've crushed the Iconians, turned back the clock, and destroyed them 200,000 years in the past. Thanks to our temporal shielding, the fleet has remained immunized from changes, and we've been able to keep our timeline mostly intact. I've made a few small adjustments to suit my own tastes. Now it's my time again. The Pa-Wraiths have given me great power over fire. The visions of the Wraiths have shown me a universe in fire. A universe for me to conquer. Through the fires of the Badlands, with the technology of the future, I can open a door to another universe. And once I have a foothold in that realm, I will have a place beyond the reach of the Emperor, where I can plan for his destruction and my eternal reign. Oh. That sounded a bit megalomaniacal. Well, I suppose it's only megalomania if you're actually delusional.
Oh, I love that last paragraph there. That's awesome. Okay, so that was the plan. Even though they had future technology, they did go 200,000 years back into the past, just like we did, except we saved the world heart. Instead, they destroyed the Iconians. So there you go. And she even made some changes to her timeline that best suited her. So really, her universe now is her universe for sure. And they were all shielded by temporal shields. And she has the power of the Pa-Wraiths and can spit fire. She used future technology to create a gateway to our universe, and now wants to take over our universe just like hers. Hers apparently isn't big enough for her, so she's got to go take over ours and everything. So there you go. That's where we are today with the Mirror Universe STFs and everything we've been getting with New Dawn. It all makes sense. When she comes through in that STF called Counterpoint, when she comes through with temporal dreadnoughts, things like that, makes sense now. She's using that technology to try to take over us. So it's definitely a tough STF to play. Very fun. I recommend it, the ground and the space. So there you go, guys. That is that's all of that. That's all of the Terran Reputation stuff there. There's nothing else to do as far as that goes.
How can I help you?
So that really, absolutely completes the Terran Reputation. There's nothing else to do. Once you complete the Reputation, unlock all 5 tiers, go here and read your ops records. You're done. You now have access to all the Terran Reputation and can get all the gear from that. So that's what I'm going to do. In the next video, we'll go over all these tiers and see what gear is available and see all the passives you can get and what the Terran Task Force has to offer us. So thank you all for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed that. Stay tuned for the next one.